The morning sun streamed through the windows of Atlanta Memorial Hospital as Jasmine Taylor adjusted her nurse's cap in the staff bathroom mirror. Her dark fingers smoothed down the wrinkles in her blue uniform, making sure she looked professional for another busy day ahead. At 28 years old, Jasmine had already earned a reputation as one of the most caring nurses in the rehabilitation ward. "Nurse Taylor, we need you in room 405. Sarah, another nurse, called out as she rushed past the bathroom door. "New patient just transferred from intensive care." Jasmine quickly grabbed her clipboard and made her way down the bright hospital corridor. Her comfortable white shoes squeaked against the clean floor as she walked. The smell of disinfectant filled the air, a smell she had gotten used to over her 5 years working at the hospital. Room 405 was at the end of the hall. Jasmine took a deep breath and knocked gently before entering. The sight that greeted her made her pause for a moment. A young man sat in a wheelchair by the window, his attention focused on the view outside. Even from the side, she could see he was handsome, with strong features and kind eyes. "Good morning, I'm Nurse Taylor," Jasmine said with a warm smile as she walked into the room. "But you can call me Jasmine." The man turned his wheelchair to face her, and their eyes met. His smile was bright and genuine, lighting up his whole face. "I'm Marcus Bennett," he replied. "Nice to meet you, Jasmine." As she checked his charts, Jasmine learned that Marcus was 32 years old and had been in a car accident 3 months ago. The crash had left him paralyzed from the waist down. He had finally been cleared to move from intensive care to rehabilitation. "So, you're going to be helping me learn how to live in this thing?" Marcus asked, patting the arm of his wheelchair. His tone was light, but Jasmine could hear the hint of sadness beneath his words. "That's right," she answered, pulling up a chair to sit at his eye level. "But from what I see in your file, you're already making excellent progress. It says here you were a software engineer?" Marcus's eyes brightened at the mention of his work. "Still am, actually. My company's been great. They're keeping my position open and letting me work remotely once I'm ready." As Jasmine began her routine checks, they fell into easy conversation. She learned that Marcus loved jazz music, had a pet golden retriever named Charlie who was staying with his sister, and had been working on developing apps to help people with disabilities before his accident. "Looks like the universe had other plans for my research," he joked, but this time his smile reached his eyes. "Now I'll have first-hand experience of what users really need." Jasmine found herself drawn to his positive attitude. Most new patients took time to adjust, often struggling with anger or depression. But Marcus seemed determined to find the silver lining in his situation. The morning passed quickly as Jasmine helped Marcus with his exercises and showed him around the rehabilitation facility. She explained how the daily routine would work, the different types of therapy he would receive, and the goals they would set together. "You know what's funny?" Marcus said as Jasmine was finishing up her morning rounds. "When they told me I was being transferred to rehab, I was dreading it. Thought it would feel like giving up somehow. But now," he paused, looking at her with those warm brown eyes, "I'm actually looking forward to getting started." Jasmine felt her heart skip a beat but kept her professional composure. "That's the spirit we like to see," she said with a smile. "Remember, this is just the beginning of your journey." As she left room 405, Jasmine couldn't help but think about Marcus. In her years of nursing, she had helped many patients, but something about him was different. His determination, his kindness, and the way he made her laugh despite the circumstances, it all stayed with her. Later that evening, as Jasmine was finishing her shift, she passed by Marcus's room one last time. He was asleep, peaceful in the dim light of the setting sun. A book about artificial intelligence lay open on his lap. She quietly entered to remove it and place it on his bedside table. "Good night, Marcus," she whispered, not knowing that this ordinary day had been the beginning of an extraordinary journey. As she walked to her car in the hospital parking lot, Jasmine smiled to herself, already looking forward to tomorrow's shift in a way she never had before. 2 weeks had passed since Marcus arrived at Atlanta Memorial Hospital. The rehabilitation ward was quiet in the early afternoon as Jasmine helped him with his physical therapy exercises. She noticed how much stronger his arms had become, the muscles in his shoulders more defined from learning to manage the wheelchair. "You're getting really good at this," Jasmine said as Marcus completed another set of arm exercises. She handed him a water bottle, trying not to stare at the determination in his face. "Thanks to you," Marcus replied, taking a sip. You know, you're different from the other nurses. You don't treat me like I'm made of glass. Jasmine pulled up a chair and sat down. It was her lunch break, but lately she had been spending more and more of her free time in room 405. Maybe because I know what it's like when people treat you differently, she said quietly. Marcus raised an eyebrow, encouraging her to continue. Growing up as a black girl in a small Georgia town wasn't easy, Jasmine explained, smoothing her uniform. People had all these ideas about what I could and couldn't do. When I said I wanted to be a nurse, some folks laughed, said I should aim lower. Marcus wheeled his chair closer to her. But you proved them wrong. Just like you're proving people wrong now. Jasmine smiled. I saw you working on your laptop yesterday. What were you doing? Marcus's face lit up with excitement. Actually, I've been designing a new app. It's for people in wheelchairs to map out accessible routes in cities. You know how many places claim to be wheelchair-friendly but aren't really? I want to change that. As he showed her the early designs on his laptop, Jasmine was amazed by his creativity. The screen filled with colorful maps and simple icons that showed everything from ramp locations to elevator access points. This is incredible, she said, leaning closer to see better. The fresh scent of his cologne mixed with hospital disinfectant made her heart beat a little faster. I have another therapy session tomorrow, Marcus said suddenly, closing his laptop. Will you be here? I'm not scheduled for tomorrow, Jasmine replied, trying to hide her disappointment. Oh, Marcus's face fell slightly. I do better when you're around. You make me feel like a person, not just a patient. Jasmine felt warmth spread through her chest. She knew she shouldn't have favored patients, but Marcus was special. His humor, his intelligence, and his kindness made her look forward to every shift. Later that evening, as Jasmine was updating patient files at the nurse's station, her colleague Sarah approached with a knowing smile. I see how you look at him, Sarah said, keeping her voice low. I don't know what you're talking about, Jasmine replied, focusing on her computer screen. Room 405. Marcus Bennett. Don't pretend you haven't noticed how his whole face lights up when you walk in. Jasmine sighed. He's my patient, Sarah, that's all. For now, Sarah winked. But he won't be a patient forever. The next day, even though it was her day off, Jasmine found herself driving to the hospital. She told herself she was just picking up some paperwork, but her heart knew better. When she passed room 405, she saw Marcus struggling with his physical therapy exercises, his face tight with pain. Without thinking, she walked in. Need some help? Marcus looked up, surprise and joy spreading across his face. Jasmine, I thought you weren't working today. I'm not, she said, helping him position his wheelchair correctly. But I thought you might need a friend. They spent the next hour working on his exercises together. Marcus told her about growing up in a Jewish family in Boston, his love for coding that started in middle school, and his dreams of making technology more accessible for everyone. You didn't have to come in today, Marcus said as they finished the session. Jasmine looked at him, really looked at him. His kind eyes, the strength in his shoulders, the gentle way he spoke. I wanted to, she admitted softly. As she left the hospital that evening, Jasmine knew something had changed. The lines between nurse and patient, between professional care and personal connection, were beginning to blur. And somehow, she couldn't bring herself to worry about it. A month had passed, and spring was in full bloom outside Atlanta Memorial Hospital. Marcus was making incredible progress in his rehabilitation, but something even more beautiful was growing between him and Jasmine. Though she was no longer his primary nurse, she had requested a change to avoid any conflict of interest. They spent every lunch break together in the hospital garden. Today, Marcus was showing Jasmine his latest work on his accessibility app. His laptop balanced on a small table between them as birds chirped in the flowering trees above. See, users can now add photos of problematic areas, Marcus explained, his fingers moving skillfully across the keyboard. Like this step that's marked as a ramp but is too steep for wheelchairs. Jasmine watched him with admiration. You're going to help so many people with this, Marcus. Just then, Sarah walked by with her lunch tray. She gave Jasmine a meaningful look and a small wave. Word had spread through the hospital about the growing relationship between the former tech executive and the kind-hearted nurse. Most staff members found it romantic, but not everyone was supportive. My sister called again last night, Jasmine said quietly, picking at her sandwich. She thinks I'm not thinking straight, says I need to consider the challenges. Marcus's hand stilled on the keyboard. What did you tell her? I told her that everyone faces challenges. What matters is finding someone worth facing them with. Jasmine looked up at him, her dark eyes meeting his. Marcus reached for her hand, and she let him take it. His palm was warm against hers. My mother had concerns too, he admitted. Not about you being black. Our family's pretty progressive about that. She's worried I won't be able to provide the life she thinks you deserve. Provide? Jasmine laughed softly. I'm a professional nurse, Marcus. I can take care of myself. What I want is a partner who understands me, who makes me laugh, who sees me for who I am. A comfortable silence fell between them. In the distance, they could hear the usual sounds of the hospital ambulance sirens, helicopter landings, people coming and going. But in their little corner of the garden, time seemed to stand still. I have something to tell you, Marcus said suddenly. The doctors say I can be discharged next week. My apartment's been modified with all the necessary equipment. Jasmine's heart skipped a beat. She had known this day was coming, but it still felt too soon. That's wonderful news, she managed to say. I'm scared, Marcus admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Not of living independently. I've been practicing everything. I'm scared of not seeing you every day. Before Jasmine could respond, her phone buzzed. Her lunch break was over. She had to get back to her rounds, but she didn't want to leave this moment. Have dinner with me, Marcus said quickly. Not here in the hospital, a real dinner, at a real restaurant, as soon as I'm discharged. Jasmine felt a smile spread across her face. Are you asking me on a date, Mr. Bennett? I believe I am, Miss Taylor. That evening, as Jasmine drove home, she couldn't stop smiling. She thought about how far Marcus had come since that first day in room 405. He had not only adapted to his new life, but was working to make the world better for others in similar situations. Her phone rang through her car's speakers. It was her best friend, Lisa. Girl, tell me everything, Lisa demanded. Sarah texted me about you and the hot tech guy. Jasmine laughed. There's nothing to tell. Yet, he asked me to dinner. And? What are you going to wear? Where's he taking you? Have you kissed him yet? Lisa. Jasmine protested, but she was grinning. He's still a patient for a few more days, but after that, you're going to let yourself be happy, Lisa finished firmly. I've known you since college, Jas. I've never heard you talk about anyone the way you talk about him. As Jasmine pulled into her apartment complex, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. Everyone else could worry about the challenges, the differences, the complications. All she knew was that when she was with Marcus, everything felt right. She looked at her phone's wallpaper, a photo of the hospital garden where they spent their lunches. Sometimes the biggest surprises in life came in unexpected packages, and sometimes, against all odds, they were exactly what you needed. 6 months had passed since Marcus left the hospital. The autumn air was crisp as Jasmine walked through the familiar hospital garden, remembering all the lunch breaks she had spent there with Marcus. Now, they met at restaurants, went to movies, and spent weekends together. Their love had grown stronger with each passing day. Tonight was supposed to be a normal Friday dinner at Marcus's apartment. Jasmine had just finished her shift and was about to head to her car when she got his text. Meet me in our garden spot, just for a few minutes. Curious, Jasmine made her way to their usual bench. The garden looked different in the evening light, with small lanterns glowing along the paths. As she turned the corner, she stopped in surprise. Marcus was there in his wheelchair, but he wasn't alone. Both their families stood nearby, her parents, her sister Karen, Marcus's mother Rachel, his father David, and his sister Sarah with Charlie, his golden retriever. The garden was decorated with tiny white lights, and flower petals were scattered on the ground. What's going on? Jasmine asked, her heart beginning to race. Marcus wheeled forward, smiling that smile that had first caught her attention in room 405. Jasmine Taylor, he began, the day you walked into my hospital room was the day my life truly began to heal. Jasmine's hands flew to her mouth as she realized what was happening. Even Karen, who had been the most worried about their relationship, was wiping tears from her eyes. But before I say anything else, Marcus continued, I want to show you something I've been working on with my physical therapist. Slowly, carefully, Marcus began to move. Using the arms of his wheelchair for support, he pushed himself up. Through months of secret therapy sessions, he had developed enough strength to stand for a few moments. It wasn't a miracle. He still couldn't walk. But as he balanced there, looking into her eyes, it was magical. I wanted to do this part standing, he said, his voice shaking slightly with effort and emotion. A small velvet box appeared in his hand. Jasmine, you never saw my wheelchair as something that defined me. You saw my heart, my mind, my dreams. You supported my work on the accessibility app, which is now helping thousands of people. You showed me that love doesn't see barriers, it breaks them down. Tears were flowing freely down Jasmine's cheeks now. Behind her, she could hear her mother sniffling. Every day with you has been an adventure, Marcus continued. Whether we're trying new restaurants, working on my app, or just watching movies at home with Charlie, you make every moment special. You've shown me that life's greatest challenges bring the greatest rewards. Carefully lowering himself back into his chair, Marcus opened the box, revealing a beautiful diamond ring. Will you marry me, Jasmine? Will you continue this adventure with me for the rest of our lives? For a moment, Jasmine couldn't speak. She looked at Marcus, then at their families. Her father was beaming with pride. Marcus's mother, Rachel, who had once worried about their future, was holding hands with Jasmine's mom like old friends. Even Charlie the dog seemed to be smiling. Yes, Jasmine finally managed to say through her tears. Yes, Marcus, I'll marry you. As she leaned down to kiss him, their families burst into applause. Charlie barked excitedly, making everyone laugh. Marcus slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. There's one more surprise, Marcus said, gesturing to a small table that had been set up nearby. I arranged a celebration dinner right here, where our story began. The families gathered around the table, which was loaded with food from their favorite restaurant. As they ate and talked, sharing stories and laughter, Jasmine looked around in amazement. 6 months ago, some of these same people had doubted their relationship. Now they were one big, happy family. Later that evening, as they sat together in the garden after everyone else had left, Marcus took Jasmine's hand. Happy. More than I ever thought possible, she replied, admiring how her ring sparkled in the lantern light. Though I have to ask, how long did you practice standing like that? Marcus grinned. 3 months. I wanted to show you that with enough love and determination, anything is possible. Jasmine kissed him softly. You've been showing me that since the day we met. The months following their engagement flew by in a whirlwind of wedding planning. Jasmine and Marcus sat in their favorite coffee shop, surrounded by brochures and laptop screens. It was their day off, and they were determined to find the perfect wedding venue. This one looks nice, Jasmine said, pointing to a beautiful garden location on her screen. Her engagement ring caught the sunlight as she moved her hand. Marcus wheeled closer to look, then shook his head. The paths are all gravel. It would be hard for me to move around, and any other guests in wheelchairs would struggle too. Jasmine's face fell slightly. This was the 5th venue they had to reject because of accessibility issues. Marcus noticed her expression and took her hand. Hey, I have an idea, he said, pulling up his laptop. Remember that accessibility app I've been working on? What if we added a new feature for wedding venues? We could help other couples like us. Jasmine's eyes lit up. This was why she loved him. He always found ways to turn challenges into opportunities to help others. Just then, Marcus's phone rang. It was Rachel, his mother, calling with exciting news. She had found a beautiful modern art museum that was fully accessible, with smooth floors, wide doorways, and elevators to all levels. And guess what? Rachel said, her voice excited over the speakerphone. They'd never hosted a Jewish African-American wedding before. They loved the idea of bringing cultures together. Later that week, as they visited the museum, Jasmine could already picture their wedding day. The large windows would fill the space with natural light, and the open floor plan would allow Marcus to move freely during the reception. We could have the chapel here, Marcus suggested, pointing to a beautiful spot near the windows. And we can incorporate African-American wedding traditions too. Mom's been reading all about jumping the broom. Jasmine smiled, remembering how Rachel had thrown herself into learning about African-American wedding customs. It was a far cry from her initial concerns about their relationship. As they planned, Marcus surprised Jasmine with his attention to detail. He created spreadsheets to track everything and used his tech skills to design a wedding website where guests could learn about both their cultural traditions. "Look what else I added," he said one evening, showing her the website, a section about accessibility features at the venue, local hotels, and reception areas, plus transportation options for guests with mobility needs. Jasmine leaned down to kiss him. "You think of everything." Their families got involved too. Jasmine's sister Karen, who had once been skeptical, now spent hours helping them pick out flowers and decorations. Marcus's sister Sarah offered to handle the music, promising a perfect blend of Jewish celebration songs and R&B classics. One Saturday, while trying on wedding dresses with her mother and Rachel, Jasmine had a moment of realization. She watched in the mirror as both moms fussed over her veil, working together like they'd known each other forever. "I never thought it would be like this," she admitted quietly. "Like what, sweetheart?" her mother asked. "So perfect. When Marcus and I first started dating, everyone focused on the challenges. But look at us now, planning a wedding that celebrates everything about who we are." Rachel wrapped her in a warm hug. "That's because you and Marcus showed us what real love looks like. It's not about what you can't do, it's about what you create together." That evening, as Jasmine and Marcus sat in their apartment reviewing wedding details, Charlie the golden retriever sleeping peacefully nearby, Marcus looked troubled. "What's wrong?" Jasmine asked. "I've been practicing with my physical therapist," he said, "for our first dance. I know I can't stand for long, but I want to share at least one short dance with you." Jasmine felt tears in her eyes. "Marcus, I don't need a standing dance. We'll figure out our own way to dance, just like we figured out everything else." He smiled, pulling her closer. "I know, that's what I love about us. We never stop trying to make our dreams come true, even if we have to do it differently than others." As they sat together, surrounded by wedding plans and love, Jasmine knew that their wedding would be more than just a celebration of their marriage. It would be a testament to the power of love to break down barriers and bring people together in ways they never expected. The morning of the wedding arrived with perfect weather, sunny and mild, with a gentle breeze flowing through the Modern Art Museum's large windows. In the bridal suite, Jasmine sat in front of a mirror as her mother put the finishing touches on her hair. "You look like an angel," her mother said, carefully adjusting the veil. Jasmine's white dress flowed beautifully, chosen specifically so it wouldn't get caught in Marcus's wheelchair during their special moments together. Karen, her sister, walked in holding a small blue box. "Something borrowed," she said, opening it to reveal their grandmother's pearl earrings. "Grandma would have loved Marcus, you know. She always said love sees with the heart, not the eyes." In another room of the museum, Marcus was getting ready with his father and best friend Tom. He wore a handsome black tuxedo, specially tailored to look perfect while seated. Charlie, wearing a small bow tie that matched Marcus's, sat faithfully beside his wheelchair. "Nervous?" Tom asked, helping Marcus with his tie. "Not about marrying Jasmine," Marcus smiled. "Just hoping everything goes smoothly. We practiced the modified tradition so many times." His father put a hand on his shoulder. "Son, this wedding is perfect because it's yours. Different doesn't mean less beautiful." The ceremony space looked magical. The museum's clean lines were softened by white flowers and twinkling lights. The chuppah, the traditional Jewish wedding canopy, stood near the windows. It had been carefully positioned so Marcus could easily wheel under it. Beside it stood the broom they would cross together, decorated with African kente cloth and Jewish symbols. As guests arrived, they were amazed by the thoughtful details. The chairs were arranged in a semicircle, creating wide aisles for easy movement. The wedding program included explanations of both Jewish and African American traditions. Even the DJ's setup had been carefully placed to ensure clear paths throughout the reception area. The ceremony began with Marcus wheeling down the aisle first, accompanied by his parents. Charlie walked perfectly beside him, still wearing his little bow tie. Then the music changed to a beautiful blend of traditional Jewish wedding music and African American gospel, arranged by Sarah. When Jasmine appeared at the entrance with her parents, Marcus felt his breath catch. She was stunning in her dress, her dark skin glowing, her smile brighter than any light in the room. As she walked down the aisle, their eyes locked, and everything else seemed to fade away. Under the chuppah, the rabbi and Jasmine's family's pastor took turns leading the ceremony. They spoke about love that transcends all barriers, about two cultures coming together, and about the strength found in embracing differences. The rings, please, the rabbit called. Charlie, right on cue, trotted forward with a small pillow holding their rings. Marcus and Jasmine had chosen to write their own vows. Marcus went first, his voice strong and clear. Jasmine, you walked into my hospital room and straight into my heart. You saw me, not my wheelchair. You loved me, not despite my challenges but including them. I promise to love you just as completely, to support your dreams, and to thank God every day for bringing you into my life. Jasmine wiped away tears as she spoke her vows. Marcus, you showed me that love has no limitations. Your strength, your kindness, and your beautiful heart inspire me every day. I promise to be your partner in all things, to face every challenge by your side, and to keep finding new ways to dance through life together. After the rabbi's blessings and the breaking of the glass, which Marcus did by pressing a specially designed lever, it was time for the broom ceremony. They had practiced this moment carefully. Jasmine would hold the decorated broom low while Marcus wheeled across it, symbolizing their journey into their new life together. The guests broke into applause and cheers as the rabbi and pastor pronounced them husband and wife. Marcus pulled Jasmine onto his lap for their first kiss as a married couple, and Charlie barked happily along with the celebration. At the reception, their families watched with joy as Marcus and Jasmine shared their first dance. Instead of trying to stand, Marcus had choreographed a beautiful wheelchair dance, spinning Jasmine gracefully as she moved around him. They had created their own way to dance, just as they had created their own path to love. Look at them, Rachel said to Jasmine's mother, both women wiping away tears. They're teaching us all what love really means. Indeed, everyone in the room could see it. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a celebration of love that knew no bounds, of two hearts that had found their perfect match in the most unexpected way. 3 months had passed since their beautiful wedding, and life had settled into a happy routine for Jasmine and Marcus. Their apartment was filled with framed photos from their special day, and Charlie the golden retriever had his favorite spots in both their home office and living room. But lately, Jasmine noticed something different about Marcus. He was spending more time on his laptop than usual, having whispered phone conversations when he thought she wasn't listening, and making mysterious appointments that he wouldn't talk about. One evening, as Jasmine came home from her hospital shift, she found Marcus quickly closing his laptop screen. "Everything okay?" she asked, hanging up her nurse's coat. "You've been so secretive lately." Marcus wheeled over to kiss her hello. "Just working on a new project," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "How was your day?" Jasmine sat down on the couch, and Charlie immediately came to rest his head on her lap. "Izzy, but I'm more interested in what's going on with you. You know you can tell me anything, right?" Marcus looked guilty. "I know, and I promise I'll tell you everything soon. Just trust me." Later that week, Jasmine was having lunch with Sarah at the hospital cafeteria when Marcus's sister let something slip. "Has he told you about the doctors in Switzerland yet?" Sarah asked, then immediately covered her mouth. "Oh no, I wasn't supposed to say anything." "Doctors in Switzerland." Jasmine felt her heart skip a beat. "What doctors? Is something wrong?" Sarah tried to change the subject, but the worry had already taken root in Jasmine's mind. That evening, she found Marcus in their home office, surrounded by medical documents written in German and English. "Are you sick?" she asked directly, her voice shaking. "Please, Marcus, tell me what's going on. I saw the medical papers." Marcus wheeled away from his desk and took her hands in his. "No, honey, I'm not sick. I'm sorry I worried you. I wanted this to be a surprise, but maybe it's time I tell you everything." He pulled up a video on his laptop. It showed a medical facility in Zurich, Switzerland, where doctors were working on a revolutionary new treatment combining artificial intelligence and biotechnology. "They're developing a way to help people with spinal cord injuries," Marcus explained, his eyes shining with excitement. "It's not a complete cure, but they're having amazing results with helping patients regain some movement and sensation." Jasmine sat down slowly, taking it all in. "How long have you known about this?" "I started researching it right after our wedding. My tech company has connections in the medical AI field, and they helped me get in touch with the research team. I've been going through all the preliminary screenings and tests remotely." "And you didn't tell me because?" Marcus reached for her hand again, because I didn't want to get your hopes up until I knew for sure. Yesterday, I got the final approval. I'm a good candidate for the treatment. Tears formed in Jasmine's eyes. Oh, Marcus. But here's the thing, he continued quickly. I don't care if it works or not. My life with you is already perfect. I want to try. For us, for our future family, for everything we might be able to do together. Jasmine moved to sit on his lap, wrapping her arms around him. When do they want you to come? That's another surprise. Marcus smiled. Remember that business trip to Europe you've been planning to take next month? The one where your hospital is sending nurses to learn about new rehabilitation techniques? Jasmine's eyes widened. You arranged that? Marcus nodded proudly. The hospital administration helped me plan it. While you're learning about new treatments, I'll be starting mine. We'll be together the whole time. Charlie patted over and put his head on Marcus's knee, as if he understood the importance of the moment. I love you, Jasmine whispered, kissing Marcus softly. Whether this works or not, I love you exactly as you are. I know, Marcus replied. That's why I have the courage to try this, because I know that either way I have you. As they sat together in their cozy office, surrounded by medical papers and hope, Jasmine realized that their love story was still unfolding. Every chapter brought new surprises, new challenges, and new reasons to fall in love all over again. The morning of their trip to Switzerland arrived bright and clear. Jasmine and Marcus had packed their bags carefully, making sure they had everything needed for their month-long stay. Charlie had already been dropped off at Sarah's house, where he would stay until they returned. The airport taxi should be here any minute, Jasmine said, checking their passports one last time. She had butterflies in her stomach, both excited and nervous about what lay ahead. When the taxi arrived, Marcus surprised her by asking the driver to take a different route. There's somewhere we need to stop first, he said with a mysterious smile. 20 minutes later, they pulled up in front of a large, modern building Jasmine had never seen before. The sign out front read, Bennett Taylor Center for Adaptive Technology and Rehabilitation. Marcus. Jasmine turned to her husband in confusion. What is this? Remember how I told you my company was working on some new projects? Marcus wheeled himself out of the taxi. This is one of them. Come inside. There's something I want to show you before we leave for Switzerland. Inside, the building was state-of-the-art. Wide corridors, smooth floors, and the latest adaptive technology everywhere. They took an elevator to the third floor, where a team of doctors and technicians waited. Mrs. Bennett Taylor, one of the doctors, stepped forward. We're so glad you're finally here. Your husband has been working with us for months to make this possible. Marcus reached for Jasmine's hand. The treatment in Switzerland isn't just an experiment, he explained. It's part of a larger project. While I was working on my accessibility app, I started connecting with scientists and tech experts around the world. Together, we've been developing something revolutionary. The doctor led them into a large room filled with advanced medical equipment and computers. On screens around the room, Jasmine could see similar setups in other locations, Switzerland, Japan, Canada, and more. We've created a global network, Marcus continued. The center in Switzerland is just one part. This building will be the American hub for the new treatment program. It combines AI-driven biotechnology with rehabilitation therapy, and it's showing incredible results. Tears filled Jasmine's eyes as she understood what this meant. You built this? All those secret phone calls and meetings. Marcus nodded. I wanted it to be a surprise. The center isn't just for me, it's for everyone who needs it. And look at the name, Bennett Taylor, because none of this would have happened if you hadn't walked into my hospital room that day. One of the technicians stepped forward with a tablet showing videos of trial patients. Some who hadn't moved their legs in years were taking supported steps. Others were regaining sensation they thought was lost forever. The treatment isn't a miracle cure, the doctor explained gently. But combined with intensive therapy and our new technology, many patients are seeing significant improvements. Mr. Bennett's treatment in Switzerland will help us refine the process even further. Jasmine looked around the room in amazement. The center had everything: physical therapy equipment, advanced computers, comfortable recovery areas, and even a garden visible through large windows, reminiscent of the hospital garden where their love story began. There's more, Marcus said softly. I've set up a program for nurse training too. Everything you're going to learn in Switzerland, you'll be able to teach it here when we return. You can help other couples like us, give them the same hope and care you gave me. Overwhelmed with emotion, Jasmine knelt down beside Marcus's wheelchair. You did all this while I thought you were just working on your app? Marcus wiped away her tears with his thumb. I had a lot of help. Your hospital administrators, my tech team, doctors around the world. Everyone believed in the vision. But you were my inspiration. You taught me that love means never stopping, never settling, always finding new ways to grow together. As they left the center to continue their journey to the airport, Jasmine couldn't stop smiling. Their trip to Switzerland wasn't just about Marcus's treatment anymore. It was the beginning of something bigger, something that would help countless others. You know, Jasmine said as they settled into their taxi, when I first met you in room 405, I never imagined our story would turn out like this. Marcus squeezed her hand. That's the beauty of love, he replied. It takes us places we never expected to go, and somehow they turn out to be exactly where we were meant to be. As their taxi headed toward the airport, the morning sun shone on the Bennett Taylor Center behind them, a symbol of hope, innovation, and the power of love to transform not just 2 lives, but countless others. The journey was far from over. In many ways, it was just beginning.